Good evening
Good
and
evening.
welcome to Economically Empowering Our Communities. Marcus, how are you?
Awesome day.
Awesome
What
day.
about yours?
Pretty good day so far.
Good, good, good.
We got a lot to get done on this show,
We
Marcus.
sure do.
People are talking about us. I don't know. What are you hearing?
Hearing good things. Got a couple of calls as I was driving in this evening about the good responses and how the audience is increasing, and the topics that we're talking about, and of course we whenever you have some critics that lets you know you're doing pretty good, and we definitely got a few of them
You
this
think
week.
we picked up a few critics?
We picked up a few
I
this
think
week.
we were a topic of conversation over at Jackson Jambalaya.
Absolutely, absolutely. We were a topic of conversation. They actually created a topic, and I don't discredit anybody, but of course, this show is the real truth and real conversation, correct?
Correct.
And anytime a blog or a podcast, anything that allows people to respond anonymously, to me, I think those are coward acts. If we're going to have real conversations, if we're going to have real truth and real impact, say it with your chest.
Say it with your chest.
Say it with your chest.
Look, as always, we're being brought to you by We Believe Digital Network. Now, if you're watching us on Facebook, then share this program with your friends and families. Send us stars, subscribe to the program, hit the notification bell so that you won't miss a show. If you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe to the program. We need a lot of subscribers. We're doing extremely well on the network, but your participation is much needed. So share this program with all your friends and family. Hit the notification button and subscribe to the program. We're being seen all over the world. We're not a page, we are a network. And some of the greatest shows of all times are right here on this platform each week. Make It Make Sense Jackson. It's just getting great reviews on this show. Put It on the Table on this network. Economically Empowering is on this network. And you can be on this network too. Now you can call in to the show. We are a podcast studio, but we take call in. So we welcome your calls on this show. And the number to call in is strolling on the screen. You can be a guest on our show. We welcome you to be that. Marcus and I are going to have some of the most important and lively guests that we can get to this show. Someone asked you today, Marcus, if Kenny Stokes was going to be on the show.
Right. Wanted to know if the Honorable Kenny Stokes was going to be with us today.
Well, Marcus, let's get right into it.
Okay.
The legislature passed the Water Authority bill. And that's got to be a great disappointment for the citizens of Jackson's leadership. And it means that we no longer control the revenues associated with operating and maintaining that asset.
That's right. And I can tell you as a former mayor, when you lose your water revenues, it's going to be a tough journey uphill battle, I would say. One thing I can say, Mr. Garrett, is, small towns, we got it tough. We have to stretch a penny every day. But I hope and pray that the citizens of Edwards, Mississippi really appreciate the fact that we did not join an authority. We did not allow them to make us join an authority, and Edwards still retains its own water with a brand new filtration system, because that means a lot. And, it's very disappointing as to what has happened in Jackson. The makeup of the committee, I don't think the citizens understand the power that these folks are going to have making decisions. And one of the things that really gets me is the makeup of this committee. I think three of the committee members don't even represent Jackson, Mississippi. 4 of the members are Republicans. 1 member is an independent, and only 1 member is a Democrat and a part of the Jackson delegation of the Black Caucus. And I saw one of the comments on Jackson Jambalaya on the article that they had where somebody said it basically is all about contracts. Well, we can say the same thing about that's why they fighting so hard to have control of the contracts and the opportunities and the decision making on our water.
So to our viewers out there, you see on the screen, we're showing you on the screen exactly what the mayor of Jackson had to say about this authority. And he expresses his disappointment. Now, the question, though, becomes, where do we go from here? I mean, does this thing have a repealer? Does it ever end? Just how long will Jackson be experiencing taxation without representation? I mean, that's what got the tea thrown in the Boston Harbor. Taxation without representation. Here you are paying in your taxes, but you can't control the revenue associated with that in your own city. That's got to be a sad day.
Yep. And the thing that really bothers me a lot is that it's like this tone or this mood as it relates to Jackson is we're incompetent and can't take care of our own business, that we need a chaperone on all the major things that the water, the airport, the garbage, as if we need a chaperone.
You need a chaperone. Marcus, let's deal with some of these comments that are coming in on Jackson Jambalaya. Let's take one here. It says the city appreciate the work that went into reaching this point, but believe government and responsibility should be aligned. What do you think about that, Marcus?
I don't necessarily think the city appreciated it. First of all, I don't think that the mayor and the council really appreciate what has happened because I think now they're realizing that the control is basically gone. And, they tried to camouflage it with this ninth chair, basically saying that the mayor and the governor would, basically discuss that appointment or whatever. But for some reason, Jackson doesn't feel that that's going to carry a lot of weight. And so I don't think that they appreciate it. And of course, the citizens are definitely not going to appreciate it because I think a lot of rules are definitely going to be strictly enforced now.
Well, the one way that whether or not the citizens appreciate it or not is that you have public meetings and you have hearings and you discuss the pros and cons and you see whether or not Jackson citizens would rather have an authority that's controlled and governed by outsiders versus, taking the fight like we did on the airport authority. Let's take the fight that says we don't want an authority. We simply want to control and manage and maintain our own assets. Now, I don't know another city in Mississippi, or quite frankly, other than Flint and Detroit, and they don't even control Flint and Detroit. So I don't know another city where we have this.
And, to add to what you're saying, again, last show we had, I wanted to make it clear that I love the slogan Jackson Rising, but this is a good example of what I meant by if the makeup of this city is not at the table helping to make decisions, how is Jackson rising when the people in Jackson are not rising? This is a great example of what I meant by that. And I just want people to really understand, that the math got a math. And the math ain't mathing right now.
Math is not mathing right now. So you see the number on the screen. Give us a call. Give us your concerns, your input, your thoughts about what's going on. Now, everybody over at Jackson Jambalaya gives us all of their thoughts all of the time. All you got to do is go over there and you'll see that from our last show, they posted every show that we've had on TikTok in their publication and linked to it where you could go and see everything. And so we get the Jackson Jambalaya hidden in the afternoons and the evenings, and in the morning shows we got Clay Edwards hitting the shows, hitting hard Jackson right there. And in the evenings, Kim Wade is coming in and he's tagging the city real good. And nobody from Jackson is saying anything. And therefore, Marcus, you and I have to take the blunt of the abuse that's going to come in our way for having the unmitigated gall to speak the truth about what's going on.
Well, you know, we tried to prepare the listening audience last show. We told them that by us getting on the front line and having real conversations and real truth conversations uncut, that we were going to face backlash. And I at least thought it was going to be 30 days from now, but a week after, we started to get that heat, man.
And you can get ready to get more because you and I are going to continue to talk truth to power.
We're going to continue bringing it.
We're going to continue to bring it because it's unjust, it's unfair, it's not right that Jackson doesn't control its assets. Now, we lost the police department, and so we have a separate police department in Jackson and a separate judicial system associated with Jackson citizens. We've lost the airport. We currently have an airport board, but the revenues from the airport board doesn't come back into the city of Jackson.
They tried to steal the school district.
Tried to take the school district from us, and now you've lost your water department. You lost your wastewater department. So there's nothing much left for our city mayor and council people to preside over.
Exactly.
And so last week I saw on the news where there was a great discussion about the zoo. And I thought, Marcus, I said, that's probably going to be the #1 headline for what's going on at the zoo in Jackson from now on.
And, you know, when we were on the campaign trail, you know, that I talked about the zoo till I was blue in the face about how important the zoo is. And I don't think the majority of the leaders in this city, county, and state really understand the importance of the zoo. If you were to strategically locate the zoo in the right place and you were to give us a good zoo, people would come from all. And see, with the capital city, the zoo is not supposed to just benefit Jacksonians. It's not supposed to just benefit Capitol Street. The capital city should have a zoo where it brings everybody, definitely from the state of Mississippi, in to visit. And when people decide when they want to go on vacation, they would choose Jackson because it's got a zoo. People travel all the way to San Diego, California, just for the zoo.
Wow. So why is it then that our school districts don't bring children to the zoo each and every year like they did when you and I were in school?
Well, for one, and you may laugh at this a little bit, they don't have too much to look at over there. I keep telling folks, if you want to know if the zoo needs to move, go over there and ask the animals. When you look at them, they're so frustrated, they're going to tell you, well, somebody ask us what we want to do. We're not getting any sleep over here at night because they're doing all the shooting that they're doing. And I mean, it's just very depressing when you go over there.
So you think the animals are stressed?
Stressed? They probably on blood pressure medicine. They probably on blood pressure medicine. Yes, sir.
Marcus, we like to have fun. You got to be able to laugh. You got to be able to laugh even when people are talking about you the way they are over on our Jackson Jambalaya.
Because guess what? I can tell the listening audience, we laugh because, trust me, we have shedded a lot of tears over the years, man. I don't think people really realize what we have actually gone through in this city. You know, being qualified, have got a lengthy resume of projects that have been done and completed, you know, and to get up every day still having to try to prove yourself. We laugh. Trust me, when we laugh, there's a lot of tears behind these laughs. I can assure you that.
We're self-made men. Yeah. You know, we've never done this before. I mean, you know, even though your father, Jerry Owens, was probably the best business person that hit the state of Mississippi, your chosen career path is different from his. Mm-hmm. So you're first generation in doing what you do. Mm-hmm. And so there is no there's no guiding posts, there's no blueprints, there's no conversations around the dining room table about what granddaddy did and what daddy did or what mama did and grandmama did. There's none of that for you and I. We have to fix the plane while we're trying to fly it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what we do each and every day. And quite frankly, you know, I'm up to the challenge. We haven't lost any passengers. We've had some bumpy rides,
Right.
but we haven't lost any passengers, and we haven't defaulted on any contracts. And over the last 25, 30 years, we have a good reputation for being a quality contractor. And so as we try to diversify and increase your revenue streams, you take on new projects. Some of those projects are going to be more challenging because that's your first time attempting to do that. But not like other business people from other ethnic groups, we don't have the luxury of failing. We don't have the luxury of saying we'll get it right tomorrow. You know, our own people will turn on us, Marcus, if we're not careful about things that were out of our control. Things like the Siemens project. That's completely and totally out of our control.
That's right.
Totally out of your control as to whether Mueller made the wrong meters, shipped the wrong meters for you to install. That you had nothing to do with the procurement of those meters that came in here that wasn't programmed right.
That's right.
But our people, including our past mayor, saw fit to list us in the suit against Siemens. Now, Siemens is a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Here I am trying to do 10 million, but my name is posted right along beside theirs. That's crazy.
And you know, when you really do your research and you look at the facts of the Siemens thing, all of the minority contractors, we completed our task. We completed our task. And we got paid every dime. There's no claim on any bond. But you know, the other part to this is, you know, what hurts is the fact that when we're not able to get opportunities, we were on a good start to strengthening the workforce. And again, I always talk about peeling back the layers. And when you peel back the layers of all this crime that's going on in this city, I can guarantee you that the common denominator is going to always lead back to people are trying to put food on their tables, and some folks just don't have no other outlet but to commit crimes. I'm not saying that to make an excuse for that, but I'm looking at reality. I've had several guys coming in my office begging for a job, just got out of prison or want to get out of the streets and not, you know, being given an opportunity. And when we issue out these big contracts and these big projects, we gotta hold these companies such as a Jackson Water feet to the fire, and we gotta bring them in every quarter or every month and say, how many people have you hired? How many outreach projects have you done in this community? We had the water crisis and the food crisis. I don't know not one event or project where Jackson Water did something to help this community. Well, that's not how that's supposed to go.
It's not how it's supposed to go, and it shouldn't go that way. Back to your point, the number one employer of Black people in the United States of America is African-American owned businesses. Number one. Now, let me put this another way. The largest employer is the government. And then second to the government is minority-owned businesses. So let's take a look at that. If you reside in Jackson, Mississippi, you're either going to work for the state, or you're going to work for the feds, or you're going to work for the city. But and they can only hire so many people, there are no industries to hire the rest of us. And so the folks are getting trained out here to be electricians, to be painters, to be track hole operators and heavy equipment operators. All of that's occurring in the minority community where the apprenticeship programs were still going on. Marcus, how many people did you hire out of the Black community during the installation of the meters?
I think we hired up to 138.
138 families. Now think about that now. 138 families, 4 people to the family. So Marcus, that is 600 and some families that you feeding, 600 and some miles that you're feeding. One black businessman feeding 600 of Jackson's citizens. Now, if we had 20 Marcuses, then do the math.
That's right. That's right. And look here, you know, we've hammered Siemens project a lot, you know, because that's been a hot topic. But you know, we could go as far as back as 2008 when the tornado hit. We hired a lot of folks to help clean up the city of Jackson. You know, I mean, this is nothing that just started. We've been on this journey and getting opportunities. You know, you hear people always talk about they get projects, but they never talk about how we help in the community, hiring people and helping to create jobs and you know, giving back to these schools. Like I said, on the last show I mentioned, I can't remember the last time a business has adopted a school in Jackson Public Schools. And that was something that was very, you know, we did a lot of that back in the day. But I can tell you, you know, African-American business in the city of Jackson on life support.
On life support. And we have those detractors out there that's always running their mouths and printing in the publication that is about the contracts, that you want to be on the gravy train. You want to get paid by the city. What is wrong with that, Marcus?
What is wrong with that?
What is wrong with that? That's absolutely correct.
Yep.
That we want city contracts. We want African-American businesses to have contracts to do work in the city, in the county, in the state, and in the federal government. That's what we want. You know,
I think it has a lot to do with the mindset, because even if we get off of the journeys we've been on, and you just take just yesterday when Mo Williams decided to go to Kentucky, man, they were wearing him out on Facebook and social media because he's leaving to go to a higher, you know, to a powerhouse university or whatever. But you gotta understand, everybody wants to reach the peak level of their careers, and we all know if we're honest with ourselves, the HBCUs are not getting the kind of money that these power schools get, and it's partly because of the politics, and it's partly because we do not give to our schools like we should. And so it is impossible for us to think, it's not impossible, but it's crazy to think that this man should stay at a $100,000 and some $200,000 job when he can go and double his salary and get more exposure, and could possibly end up on you know, coaching a powerhouse school or possibly in the NBA. And so, you know, we gotta look at what makes sense, not CENTS, but what makes SENSE sense.
Good way of putting it. So, Marcus, we take that example, and I'll take it this way and say that we had the same experience with Deion Sanders. And we got the same experience now with Mo Williams. The deal is that when you have an opportunity to move up, to grow your business, to grow your family, to improve your situation, then we want you to take it. When I hire people in here and train them, I tell them that one day I want to be able to compete with you. I want you to pick up enough skills, be able to open your own business and to move forward, realizing that we, in fact, one day will compete. And you and I have competed on projects, Marcus, and that's the way it ought to be. You ought to be competing for every project that you can get, And at the end of the day, win, lose, or draw, you and I went and got a beer.
You know, because I talked about you, you know, when you had the sludge, you were running 6 trucks. And when I got it, you dropped it to 2 trucks. Right. I say, he's trying to starve me. But, you know, you're absolutely right. That has never come between us. No. I've looked at you like a second father, respected you highly. And, you know, I tell folks all the time, the blueprint that I learned growing up was seeing the Black business community. And that's why I'm heavy on this business museum, because I saw a lot of you all work together. You know, it was understood that if you needed a suit for a meeting, wedding, funeral, whatever, you go to Classic Rags, Rick and Vic. If you needed, you know, chemicals, you either at that time you went to Nolan Tate or Earl Washington. Yeah. You know, it was like I heard people, that's what they mentioned. You know, when you needed cars, you came to Classic Auto Sales or Precision Motors. Insurance, you went to Howard Kitchens or Matt Thomas, or, you know, those guys. When you needed a Ford or you needed a car and you had bad credit, it was understood. You go see Al Williams or Robert Williams, you're gonna ride when you leave there. And that's the Jackson I saw growing up. And that's what made me come back home and want to stay and try to build something. But y'all, it is on life support now, and we have to turn this thing around. My kids don't even want to talk about coming back to Mississippi because it's so discouraging how things are being done. And you know, we got a serious Black muscle in this city, Mr. Garrett, but that muscle is not strong because you have to exercise muscles and build muscles, correct? That's correct. But the Black muscle in this city is not going to ever get strong until we realize, you know, things such as if 40,000 more of us had voted in the governor's election, we would have had Brandon Presley as the governor of the state of Mississippi. We got to realize those type things. There's no reason why 97,000 registered voters in the city of Jackson and only under 25,000 people voting. We're not going to ever build a Black muscle like that in this city.
Well, we're going to have to build it because our future depends upon it. Marcus, when we give folks control over our water, that means they decide what the rate is going to be. So let's just say that they wanted to clean a community out for gentrification. Let's just say that the most prime land in Mississippi is in Jackson, Mississippi. It sits at the crossroads of commerce with 200 miles from Monroe, 200 miles from Shreveport, 200 miles from Mobile, 200 miles from Memphis, 200 miles from Birmingham, 5520 cross right here in our city. Jackson is the prime spot in Mississippi. And so it goes to reason that others don't want Black folks controlling that. And so no longer than you would want, if you were in control, you wouldn't want someone else taking that from you. So the deal is that we're going to have to fight to maintain the ground and the land and the responsibility that we have been given, because we had enough votes to put Harvey Johnson in office in 1995. And from there, we started to see a rise. Before Harvey Johnson, it was you didn't see any Black businesses. Mm-hmm. After Harvey Johnson, we began to see things. Now, Nolan Tate Sr., you know, a giant in the Black business community, running his business over there. You mentioned Matt Thomas over there running this business. Sudden had a janitorial supply company that was doing a lot of business. I saw Sudden trucks running every day. Earl Washington with Capital City Chemicals was doing chemical distributions back in the day. Marcus, we saw Black folk moving.
Absolutely.
We saw Black accounting firms doing the accounting. Banks Philly and White had the audit responsibilities for the city. We saw Black lawyers, Earl Blackman, come into fruition. First Smith began to dominate in the legal professions in Jackson, Mississippi. And they could only do that because we had a high population of Black folk.
That's right.
If you are a Black attorney in Brandon, you're not going to get very many cases. You may get 1 or 2 profile cases, but you're not going to get everyday walk online. Like Dennis Sweet, for example, he controls that small practice in Jackson area. So I'm being told that we got to go to a commercial break, Marcus, and after that, we'll be right back and continue this discussion.
Socrates Garrett ENT.com is a diversified firm specializing in recycled aggregates and crushed concrete. Socrates Garrett ENT.com's recycled materials provide the construction industry with significant economic and environmental benefits by recycling clean concrete rubble into M.Dot grade rock materials. Recycled aggregates and crushed concrete can be applied to driveways, road construction, bank protection, parking lots, general bulk fills, and more. By using Socrates Garrett ENT.com's crushed concrete products, anyone from homeowners to general contractors can help reduce landfilled concrete waste, conserve natural resources, and gain significant economic savings on materials and disposal costs. For more information, please call 601-896-0084 or visit us online at SocratesGarrettENT.com.
Have you had your Earthblend coffee today? At Earthblend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earthblend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
And we're back. We're back talking about this heavy discussion about this Jackson water here in the city of Jackson. And Mr. Garrett, like we said, this is a very serious matter. The other thing that kind of concerns me also is the fact that I think that the issue of these water bills is about to get real strict. I think now citizens are going to have an ultimatum: you either pay it or it's going to get cut off, and not try to work with these people. And that really bothers me because you got a lot of elderly people in this city who are struggling and not buying medicine trying to pay this bill. And that's something that's very concerning.
Well, it's concerning for a lot of us. There's something out here called a water availability charge. Now, you pay for your water. That's the actual water that you use. But then you pay a fee called water availability. And let me tell you how cruel that can be. My water usage bill at my business location was $25. But my availability charge was $325. $25 worth of usage, $325 for the availability. So when I called and complained about it, they said that I had a large meter. I said, well, let's downsize the meter then. Let's make it the smallest meter that you have, because $325 on availability is criminal when your usage is only $25. And so as of this date, I have not been able to get that meter downsized to eliminate this water availability charge. And I know other businesses are experiencing the same thing. And then on top of that, Marcus, we get a 12% rate increase on our water bill. Now, the judge orchestrated that or allowed that to happen. And so, again, our city leaders, our mayor, our council people are not making any decisions.
And they're not making any noise. John Lewis said there comes a time to get in good trouble, and nobody is making any noise. Now the question that I got is, why do you think we got a lot of talented attorneys in this city? Why haven't an attorney or a group of attorneys came up with a class action on this water thing and take this thing, if we have to, all the way to the Supreme Court? Because like I said, it could be clearly proven that these water bills are incorrect and the water usage is incorrect, because I know for sure There are what you call ghost leaks in this city, where leaks are all in the bushes, water just running. And we've been in construction long enough to know when water is running, a meter is turning somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And so we know people, you got to be selling water and you still won't get a $20,000 bill. Now, there have been some people who have abused the privileges. I will say that.
Oh, yeah.
There have been it, but that is not the main reason. And you know, folks like these people over at Jackson Jambalaya and the people that makes comments, they want to make it seem like folks are not paying their bills. That is not the case. Like I said, there are ghost leaks in this city, and the first thing Jackson Water should have done when they came to town was fixed all the leaks. You got Jacobs in here; they supposed to be the top engineering firm, which I don't understand why you didn't, you know, use Neil Schaefer, IMS, Crown. We got a lot of talented engineering firms, and set this whole city up on GIS and detected all of these leaks before you started fixing this other stuff. Otherwise, what's going to happen has happened. It's just like putting lipstick on a pig.
And so I used to hear Doug Anderson say that it's like putting lipstick on a pig. It doesn't make the pig look any better.
No, it doesn't make it look any better at all.
So what we want to do is we want to make absolutely certain that everyone out here knows. First of all, we understand that you're going to cry and you're going to claim this is a racist show. It is not. This is not about race. This is a struggle and a fight inside our own house. Now, you can chime in. You come try to tell me how to run my house if you want to, but that is not your position. So those of you that don't live in Jackson, those of you that don't have a stake in the survival of this city, by what I mean is that you're not employing people, you're not paying property taxes in here, then you really ought to go somewhere and sit down. You really don't have skin in the game. Now, I know that we pay a tremendous amount of taxes in this city each and every year. Each and every year. And the number is astounding, the amount of taxes that we pay. And so we have the right, we have the desire, and we have the responsibility to say something. You say, see something.
Say something.
Say something. We are saying something.
And you know, let me add, we mention African American and Black businesses a lot because, plain and simple, that's the makeup of the city. It's not our fault that Jackson is 80% African American, but you also will notice that we promote local, because local businesses in this city, not just the African American, Caucasian businesses aren't getting the opportunities that we normally get. We've been in rooms where there has been a very diverse group of people working together and making projects happen over the years. The Funding Enhancement Project, the Capitol Street Two-Way. I mean, I could name several projects that we worked with local companies to make things happen. So we're on the front line with this show, fighting for local businesses, not just African American businesses.
Those that have skin in the game.
That's right.
Those that are domiciled here. And so when we say that our inability to get a contract to repair water lines during this $1 billion, this $600 million jobs program that's in effect, our inability to work during that time is criminal. When we see companies from Louisiana, Kansas City, Missouri, Alabama, working every day in our streets. And when I see that Marcus's company and my company and other African-American businesses are not working during this period of time, is something morally wrong with that.
The math ain't math.
The math ain't math, as he said. And so we got to say something about it. And to our friends, those out there that see things differently, understand this. It is our responsibility to take care of our own. We don't want you to do it. We don't want African Americans to depend upon government subsidies. We don't want to be a welfare city, but we're a welfare state. We recognize that, but we don't want to be a welfare city. All we want to do is work, achieve, make this place better than when we found it, so that the next generation won't have to start from where we started. That's all we're trying to do. And if you're a right-minded person, you would help us in doing that. You would say that we have to elevate the number of contracts for goods and services that Black businesses are getting in the state, in the city, in the county, at the airport, at the school system. You would say we got to do better. Every Sunday morning, that should be being preached from every pulpit.
Absolutely.
Every pulpit should be preaching the same thing. Until we elevate the least of us, there is not going to be any growth in the state of Mississippi. And so it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. Build a strong business class in Jackson, Mississippi. And as Marcus said, you'll reduce crime. You will gain a middle class will grow. It makes yourself available to talent pool like you've never seen before. That the diversity in our talent pool is our strength, not our enemy. So when we come together and try to do the right thing, we can grow this city, this county, this state, Marcus.
Right, and you got to be strategic about how you do things. Everybody knows that our infrastructure is in bad shape. Well, help us help you. Help us create a workforce of these young men out here that are committing crimes and on the street. Help us get us the resources to help train these young men to help build the infrastructure, asphalt streets, and put water and sewer pipes back in the ground. Then that allows us to help you all save money. And that's, exactly the type of things are going to have to happen, because if we sit around and wait on the governments to give us the monies to fix our infrastructure, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. And Marcus, when you mentioned the debris contract, I'm out here in these streets every day tearing down old buildings and trying to do the best I can to clean up Jackson, etc. And I run into 10-year-old boys walking the street, sagging, carrying Uzis. 9, 10-year-olds walking the street, carrying Uzis and AK-47s. And they walk up to me and they say, "You the big cheese." And sometimes I look at them and I say, "No, that's somebody else, And then I realized that I said, you, if you don't talk to him, Socrates, if you don't explain to him that there is another way, then obviously he's going to continue on this path. So we reach out to him, and in many cases we give them jobs, sometimes just to guard the equipment, during the evenings at night, so that when you come back to work tomorrow morning, that the batteries will be there, that it'll have diesel in the tank. We say, "Okay, I'm gonna hire you today. You already got a weapon. Now just guard this track hole for me today," and they will do that, and nothing will happen to your equipment. Mm-hmm. But I tell you, I've seen some contractors come in our communities and they don't fare that well, Marcus.
Right. And there's, we got to restore some hope back in the city. These young people, they just have no guidance, and they just lose all encouragement because no one is really speaking out. Give you a prime example: these 2 young kids that got killed, that they found deceased on yesterday. I haven't heard one political leader speak out about that. And the citizens are looking at that. When you don't have a political leader that that gets out their bed at least 1 or 2 times to go to these incidents and hug the mom of one of the victims or whatever, the citizens look at that. They look at that. They look at that. I mean, I tell folks, you know, when I was married, I made $500 a month. I spent $1,000 a month driving back and forth to Edwards because if an incident happened at 10 o'clock at night, I was on location with the officers during that time. And speaking of which, I want to take this time and publicly salute the fire department. Those guys have been working around the clock. The last, I would say, last month, they've had several fires, and the one that they had over by Battlefield Park, that was a monster. So hats off. I salute you guys for working hard, and I hope that you all are being treated well by the city and being acknowledged of all the hard work that you all put in over the last 30 days for sure.
So Marcus, when we go into our communities, there's a certain thing called role models. Now, I experience respect in our communities every day. When I'm in that community, you know, the guys will say, Mr. Garrett. They will say, you know, do you have anything I can do? We know who you are. Do you have anything I can do? Parents will say, my son needs a job. I've had people say, can my daughter come and just stay, hang out at the Mississippi Link newspaper? Can they just be in that environment? Dorothy Bedford, before she passed, said, can my daughter just come and sit in that environment every day? They understand who we are. They understand the commitment that you made. Your commitment to the youth in this city doesn't go unnoticed by Jackson citizens. They know who you are.
Right.
They know what you've done. They know how much you've tried to mentor these young men and to take them on trips and to mentor them in basketball and the investment that you made. And I saw you running up and down the highway every day, every weekend, you know, taking a group of kids to basketball games. And I see some of the results for you coming back. I saw you and your son with a photo the other day. Right. And that was a proud moment for me. Absolutely. It was a proud moment for me just to see your son standing there with you. My son works with me every day. He's probably one of the best operators in the whole city of Jackson. Young man can run any piece of equipment that's out there. And so that's what we work for.
And, you know, speaking of that, and I appreciate that, that's the other side of this life that I get to see. And that's why I'm so eager to want to create workforces and make sure we get business opportunities. Because, man, I tell you, we really have some good fathers in this city. Oh, yeah. You know, I'll brag on a few. I see how John Knight spends the time he spends with his grandson. His grandson, I think he's like 7 years old, and he's operating a zero turn by himself. Mm. Jarvis J Rock, little kid, played basketball over at Callaway. How I brag and tell him all the time. I'll send him a message late at night and just tell him, son, I'm proud of you, how you spend time with your boys. You know, these guys in this city want to do for their families, and they want to be something in life. But Jackson, Mississippi, I can tell y'all, we're not serving them just, because we should have opportunities, and they should be able to continue to see guys like us who built something from nothing and succeeding. And we should be able to continue to train them and teach them that you can be the same person, you can do the same thing. But we can't do that. I tell you, it hurts my heart a lot now when JPS schools call me to do things. And I you know, usually if it's homeless, elderly, or children, without hesitation, I say yes. But I have to be honest with you all, over the last year or two, I haven't been quick to say yes, because I haven't been in a position to do that. And we can't continue to do these volunteer projects when we're not getting these opportunities. Last year, after the St. Patty's Day parade, the citizens were in an uproar because the city was dirty for 3 days. Well, we gotta go beyond and tell the truth on that. It was dirty because there was not a cleaning contract in place, and the city was calling companies that next morning to volunteer to clean up. We can't continue to spend $10,000-$20,000 volunteering to clean up and do stuff like that. There should be a line item on an event as large as St. Patty's Day. There should be a $200-$300 contract, $300,000 contract to clean up the city of Jackson and have it clean by 9 or 10 o'clock. When they did Jubilee Jam, a Black African-American business owner had the contract. His name was Charles Cockrell. Lord bless his soul. And he had the city back clean by 9 a.m. the next morning.
And Mr. Cockrell also had a garbage cleaning company. They picked up all of the garbage in Jackson. That was back in the day when we were rolling. That's when we were rolling.
Absolutely.
Black man had the garbage contract. Right. You didn't hear a lot of fuss and fighting going on over it. And Charles Cockrell was a pioneer in that regard. He went on to open up one of the temporary agencies as well. We have stories to tell about Black business people. Man.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, we were blessed to get opportunity, both of us, on one of the largest contracts in the city, you know, handling the sludge for the city. Right. And prior to me getting it, I didn't know anything about the biosolids and what it generated. But I tell you, after seeing that first check, everything smelled like strawberries and looked like strawberries. But those are opportunities that's not being really shared with us now.
You won't see an African American get another contract in water and wastewater now that the authority is in place. Those opportunities came because the white business community understood that Mayor Johnson wanted African Americans to participate in work in the city. And he put his foot down on that. And it might have cost him re-election, but he put his foot down on that and businesses began to grow. So yeah, we worked in the wastewater treatment plant. You worked in the wastewater treatment plant. Robert Love works in the wastewater treatment plant. Mm-hmm. All of these things are because given the opportunity, we perform.
That's right.
We excel. We do it as well or better than those that had it before us, given the opportunity. Now, we realize that there's some drawbacks, and that's why we're heavy on joint ventures, on minority participation, the way Maynard Jackson proclaimed it in Atlanta. He said any contract at the Atlanta Hartsfield Airport will have a 25% minority participation agreement tied to it, or don't bring it in here. I mean, that's the stand that he made. Mm-hmm. And look what happened. Atlanta grew, Black businesses grew, white businesses grew. The whole pie got bigger.
And that's why Jackson was growing at that time.
And the pie was getting bigger, but when you squeeze it down, when you fight with one another, then you shrink the pie, and you become a city and a state that's poor and unable to pay its bills. Do you realize, to my friends out there in Jackson Jambalaya world, that Mississippi is a welfare state? For every dollar that we send to Washington, D.C., we get almost $3 back in return. The citizens in California are raising a boatload of hell about why do they have to support Mississippi? Because when they send $5 to Washington, they get nothing in return. But in Mississippi, we get almost $3 for every dollar spent here. Do you realize that if you took food stamps out of the state of Mississippi, you would bankrupt the whole state? Just think about that, Marcus. We raise all this hell about who's on food stamps and who's not on food stamps as if our citizens have some other thing they can do. Like they have job opportunities that they haven't taken advantage of. And so, yeah, we want people to be productive. We don't want them on food stamps, etc. We want a helping hand up, not a permanent solution for that station in life. But if in fact you took the federal subsidies out of Mississippi, you would bankrupt the whole state. And I don't think many people understand that, Marcus.
No, we got a lot of education that we got to do around here. From that standpoint, from the voting standpoint, you name it, and even from the process of contracts and those type things. Because, like you said earlier, what is wrong with us just wanting to continue to get opportunities? I've never understood that. I've never understood why Mr. Garrett is the bad apple of the bunch, because he got a $5 million contract. He don't need another one. He making enough money. When these other companies, these white companies, they constantly getting them over and over and over. I know one particular construction company, you can't go nowhere in the city without seeing his logo.
No, you can't.
And so, and nothing is wrong with that. And I have absolutely no problem with that company at all. But what's wrong with seeing our logo on a regular basis?
There's nothing wrong with white folk getting contracts in Brandon.
Right.
Do we ever complain about white folks getting contracts in Brandon?
Not at all.
Do we say a word about that? Do we ever complain about white folks getting all of the work at the state highway department? Do we say anything about that?
We don't even complain about them getting work in Jackson if we were getting some. When we were getting some, we didn't have a problem with them coming in here. But now, standing on the sideline and watching them get it and we don't get anything, I mean, where they do that at? Ain't that what they said? Where they do that at?
Where they do that at? And so, and then, we go on with this thing because Marcus said it's about education. So we got to educate the citizens and the constituents of Jackson in the state of Mississippi. The federal highway program mandates that there is a minority set aside in contracts. Now, it did before President Trump came in and abolished DEI. So I don't know what's going on over there now. But in the past, it had a mandatory 15% participation contract, which was put in place by a Republican president named Richard Nixon, not by a Democratic president, but by a Republican president named Richard Nixon, who started the 8A program and made it mandatory that we have participation in contracts. Now, so every federal contract, we're talking about billions of dollars now coming into the state, has a participation contract tied to it for minorities. 89% of the contracts that classified as minorities were going to white females because they have the classification of being a minority in contracting. 89% of the contracts go to white female-owned companies. We understand what's going on with that, but our friends over here never say anything about that. They never say that, you shouldn't be getting contracts. White females should not be getting contracts from MDOT. They're never going to say that. They want to focus on stopping the small growth that they think is occurring in African-American owned businesses in a majority Black city.
And the other part to that is that, again, we're not asking anybody to give us anything.
No.
All we're basically saying is take in consideration our resume. There's a lot of talent in this city. And you can remove Mr. Garrett and I, and you still got a bag full of contractors, talented contractors in this city. You got a talented engineers. That's why I never understood why we went all the way to Virginia to get a civil engineer. And we brought him back to Mississippi and we put a cape on him and made him Superman. Got a lot of talented engineers, architects, you name it. Just about any career, we got talent here. But we gotta find a way to get people in a room, and when we come out, we got opportunities. Otherwise, Jackson is going to be a branch of one of these other towns.
Wow, going to be a branch, subdivision
Right.
of another town.
Exactly.
You heard it here on We Believe Digital. If you're watching us on Facebook, share this program with your friends and family. Send us stars. Hit the notification bell so that you won't miss any of these important messages. If you're watching us on YouTube, we appreciate your participation and your patronage. But go ahead on and subscribe to the program on YouTube. We've been seen all over the world. We get a lot of comments out of Nigeria. We get a lot of comments out of Germany. We get comments out of Clinton, Atlanta, all over the world. We get over 500,000 views each and every week on this platform. So your participation is important to us. And we're going to end this evening show. So we're going to ask my co-host, the distinguished man that he is, the contractor that has given his life to trying to be a role model, trying to be an example so that other Black boys and girls can say, I want to be like him. I don't want to be like the drug dealer on the corner. I want to be like him. I want to drive like he drives, wear clothes like he wears. I want to help others like he does. And we're trying to create other folks to take your place, Marcus, when your job is done. Any final comments from you?
Well, just to add to what you're saying, over the last week, especially after this Jackson Jambalaya write-up they did, I got a lot of calls from young people. I've spent a lot of time in this city with a lot of young folks, and they reached out of concern. Ms. Wallace, why are they bashing you and Mr. Garrett like they're doing? And I told them, I said, I want you all, a couple of things I want you to get out of this. One, I want you to look at this and know that in life, you get up every day and you put your pants on just like they do. And you got to stay in the fight. And that's what I would tell them here today, this evening. Keep fighting, keep fighting. You're going to have some L's, but I don't consider L's as losses. I consider them as lessons. But you will eventually get the wins that you need. And I want to also say thank you to our audience. We have gotten a lot of support over the last couple of weeks, and just continue to keep listening. We're going to continue to keep bringing real conversations and real truth. And like I said, Lord, if anything you can do for us, pray for us, because trust me, we're on the front line bringing these real conversations, and trust me, we are getting all the heat that they can throw at us, but we built for it. Have a good one.
Good night.
Good night.